It was 2014, and a friend went to visit his aunt. It was in the farthest point from my house possible in the city we live. But me and another friend just wanted to cycle for a bit, no matter to where, so we decided to cycle for more than an hour to surprise our friend. He didn't take it that well, so after just drinking a glass of water, we decided to cycle back to our house. But when we were like 1 minute away from his house, a freaking storm started pouring all over us. And we made a 180 and cycled back to take shelter. He laughed at us and then proceeded to sleep on the wet floor. And after that, we called our parents to come for us. And while we were waiting, my friend decided to put something on the TV from his computer. And what he put on the TV made me fall in love with competitive Pokémon forever. Pokémon is widely known for his basic gameplay. It's really iconic and a lot of properties have tried to replicate it or have really similar systems. But at this point in time, there isn't a game that could replicate the magic that the Pokémon franchise achieved in its gameplay. From the outside, it looks like the title of the chapter says. It's rock, paper, scissors with extra steps. But instead of rock beating scissors and scissors beating paper and paper beating rock, here we have types. And fire beats grass, grass beats water, and water beats fire. Even though Pokémon has 18 types, everyone is managed by this principle. There is a type that is weak against you, and there is another one that is strong against you. But there is also immunity, types that have zero effects against others, adding extra spice to the gameplay. And now you can have an idea of why this gameplay is described as a rock, paper, scissors system. Simple from the outside, but what if I told you Pokémon can be really complicated when you get deeper into its systems and begin to play ranked or competitive games, making this a truly amazing and complex game that I think everyone should try at least once.
I get it! I don't get it!
Once you're thrown into the ring with another trainer, Pokémon's strengths and weaknesses become just one of the ingredients in the pot. You see, competitive Pokémon, even though it has a singles bracket, the most popular format and the one that I love is the VGC format, that stands for Video Game Championship. See, even they are pushing it to be the main event. But in VGC, you are going to battle 2v2 Pokémon, with other 2 Pokémon in the back, meaning 2 other Pokémon that can be swapped in, or that will replace one of their Pokémon in the board once they go down, making the game more complicated from the beginning. Every choice you make is really important. One error and you're going to be eaten by a competent player, because that rock, paper, scissors dilemma is just the beginning. There are certain things that the game doesn't tell you, or that I was dumb enough to not know. And watching other YouTubers play the game is where I learned most of the secret mechanics. So if you are new to Pokémon or you are just interested in how this shit works, let me teach them to you too. Pokémon has this mechanic called Stab, meaning same type attack bonus. Let's play a game. Let's say by Pokémon Magic you can make your Charizard learn Earthquake, the strongest ground type move in the game. And you're fighting against a Pikachu, whom is weak against ground type moves, such as Earthquake. What move should you pick against Pikachu? Earthquake or Flamethrower, a fire move that does neutral damage against an electric type like Pikachu? Well, if you pick Earthquake, you are thinking in the simple rock, paper, scissors dilemma the game teaches you in the base game. But in reality, Flamethrower being a special attack and having a stab at the end of the day is going to do more damage than Earthquake. And there is also other things that Pokémon doesn't teach you when you play it. Pokémon, when you capture them, or when they are born, they come with a random nature. And Pokémon Natures has a lot of weight in competitive play. Let's start from the beginning. Pokémon have 6 stats: HP, attack, special attack, defense, special defense, and speed. And as you can see, attack and defense have 2 different branches. To simplify this, let's just say the normal ones are physical and the special ones are ranged. And the Pokémon, once they come out of the Egusi, each one has their own specific stats, something that makes this game unique and beautiful. But if we had a group of the same Pokémon, their stats can vary depending on 3 important things. 1 being their nature, 2 being the IVs, and 3 being the EVs. Natures normally takes 1 stats of your Pokémon and lowers it to boost another one. Really useful for creating a perfect warrior. Let's take that Charizard as an example again. As we can see, Charizard's special attack is higher than its normal attack, so we want to keep boosting that stat. And to do so, you could give him the Modest Nature, a nature that boosts special attack with the drawback of lowering the normal attack, a stat that you won't be using either way, so it's a good trade. Because when you create a team, you are searching Pokémon that will be trained to fit specific roles. And here Charizard is filling the role of a fast special attacker that can hit like a truck. And to make sure it meets those requirements, at the best of its abilities, we also need to check its IVs and EVs. IVs, or individual values, is the amount of value a Pokémon has in each one of its stats. You see, Pokémon like humans are born a little bit different from one another. One can be faster and another one can be physically stronger, even though they are the same Pokémon. And this is because of their IVs. If one is faster than the other fresh from the egg, it's because its IVs in speed are better. Stats are picked by RNG, unless you breed the Pokémon to make them come out just like you want them. And here is where I will teach you younglings how we used to breed Pokémon for hours giving Dittos, Destiny Nuts, and PTSD. But that isn't the way things work anymore. Now the games have so much more accessible ways to give your Pokémon abilities or IVs by just playing and buying items for them. You can change nature by buying mints or hyper-train them to get those IVs to their maximum stat, getting a completely viable Pokémon in seconds instead of weeks. So now is the best time to get into competitive Pokémon, believe me. I'm of two minds with this change, because I think that all of this breeding process gave a lot of personality to the team creation behind competitive Pokémon. It was something special that only took place in this community. No other game was doing something like this, and it was official. It was the official way that Pokémon want you to get your Pokémon. But at the same time, it was a time vampire. It took a lot of time, making it less accessible for everyone. So I'm sad but glad at the same time to see this go. Okay, but we're still missing the last part of what makes a Pokémon competitively viable. And that will be the EVs, not IVs, EVs. Effort values is the best part of competitive Pokémon, you see. Pokémon, even though they are the same species, can have multiple uses in battle depending on how you train them. Because just like in the animes and shit, you need to train your Pokémon either by defeating specific Pokémon or giving them enhancing drugs. Yep. You heard that right. After having your Pokémon IVs to the max and having the best outcome possible from birth, now you can train those stats. So let's look at the differences in EVs between two fire types. The second mascot of Pokémon and the face of PGC. Yeah, if you start playing competitive, get ready to hate this little bastard. But he's cool in Smash though. Charizard is a Pokémon that, like we said, we want him to hit hard and hit fast. The speed stat is checked every turn, and the Pokémon with higher speed attack first. Charizard isn't that bulky, so we want to attack first to make sure he takes out Pokémon before they take him down. So we're going to train his speed and special attack stats. A Pokémon can learn up to 510 EVs in total, but a Pokémon can only learn 252 EVs per stat. So we should hunt and beat specific Pokémon that will give him speed EVs each time they are defeated, and let's do it while our Pokémon holds a Power Anklet, a specific item that gives extra speed EVs for each EV gain. And after that, hunt Pokémon that give special attack EVs with the respective item until we have fully trained EVs. And the remaining ones, we can put them into the HP stat to survive low roll attacks from the enemy. And if you don't know what a low roll attack is, well, it is this other thing that Pokémon doesn't teach. That is basically a math formula that the game runs each time you press your attack. Imagine that you're playing D&D, and when you want to do an action, you need to roll the dice and see how effective your action is going to be. Well, Pokémon attacks are the same. Each time you press the button, an imaginary die chooses how much power your attack is gonna have. And maybe with these extra EVs in HP, we could survive a low die roll from the opponent. And this is now a fully EV trained Charizard. And with everything we know, we just now need to give him a mint to turn his nature into Modest because we want a special attack, and teach it the best moves for the build we are running, creating a complete competitive Pokémon. Almost, we are missing giving it an item, but that can vary depending on your team, and that is for you to find out. But now let's see a difference in the EV spreads of Incineroar. Because If I told you Pokémon have different roles as if they were a fucking Final Fantasy lineup. Incineroar is not a fast attacker like Charizard, it is a support Pokémon, and the strongest one in the game, its main use being debuffing the enemy. It has a priority move, meaning a move that goes before any speed checks that can make an enemy Pokémon lose his first turn. And it also has a move that makes the enemy lose attack and special attack while giving you a free swap for another Pokémon in the back. And that's not all, because Pokémon have these things called abilities, being an extra effect they have for existing, like the prankster Pokémon that move first if they are using a non-damaging move, becoming the perfect support Pokémon, buffing and debuffing the enemy, or one of the most used in the competitive Pokémon, the weather Pokémon. Pokémon that just by being on the board can change the weather and add its effects on the field. The drought ability makes sunny day, for example, making the fire moves stronger and water type moves weaker. And it can also help to activate other abilities. Remember Charizard? Well, its most used ability in competitive is Solar Power, an ability that boosts Charizard's special attack, but with the drawback of taking HP from him each turn. But no matter, because everything we hit is going to freaking die, and if they hit us we are going to die either way. Making these ability combos one of the most crucial parts of the strategy behind the game, giving it so much personality in how you build your team. You can build it around a single Pokémon or around a single ability. Competitive Pokémon is so much fun. But okay, anyway, Incineroar has one of the strongest abilities in the game, being Intimidate, an ability that lowers the opposing Pokémon attack stat whenever the Pokémon is sent into battle. So you will intimidate by throwing him at the beginning of the fight, and then after using Parting Shot and swapping, if you come back to the board you are intimidating again. This Pokémon is so fucked up, man. But because we want him alive as much as possible, our EV spread will be a little bit different than Charizard's. We are gonna go full HP and give it 252 EVs there, because we want him with a lot of HP, and then instead of going full into another stat, we are going to divide the remaining ones between special defense and defense. And instead of a nature that gives us attack, we want a nature that rests our special attack, since we will never use it, and give us defense or special defense depending on which Pokémon you want to defend yourself. If it is a heavy special attack meta, you could go careful nature and put more EVs in special defense than in normal defense. And with that we have a fire Pokémon like Charizard, but that instead of focusing in being a destructive force, it focuses on becoming a disruptive force. We want the enemy to be unable to complete their plans, or to keep our attackers like Charizard alive. This is competitive Pokémon. Not everything is written in paper, your choices and strategy is yours and yours alone, because EVs are not used for creating a single build. You see, we could grab that Incineroar and put its IVs in attack and HP and make it a bruiser. We gonna hit hard and survive longer than a glass cannon. EVs are your way of expression no matter your Pokémon. Of course, there are metas, but you could override them to create whatever you want. And I know this is possible because of the reason I started playing competitive Pokémon.
Agent, everybody!
So there we were, in the house of this friend, and what he decided to put on the TV was the Pokémon World Championship Finals of 2014. Some of you might have seen that coming, because this was the championship where the South Korean Senju Park, sorry for the pronunciation, won the entire tournament with a Pachirisu. If you don't know about Pokémon, let me put it in terms you'll understand. It's like if in a boxing match, we had Mike Tyson, one of the world's biggest boxing legends, against someone so uninspired, stupid and dull like Jake Paul. Wait, what? You mean to tell me this really happened? Okay, cut. It's like if you put a giant fire-breathing dragon against a small little rat. See, we didn't have to stray far from reality. Keep it simple, guys. But this little rat took the competition by surprise, tanking the strongest attacks in the game and dealing massive damage to the strongest and tankiest Pokémons in the meta. All because the love the trainer had in his little rat. You need to understand that Pachirisu is a Pokémon that doesn't evolve, Pokémon with really underwhelming stats, weak even. But Senju Park didn't give a shit. Pachirisu is his favorite Pokémon, and the only way he will win is if this little rat was in his team. Using really smart EV spreads to tank those massive attacks and using two powerful moves that have become really popular with the years. You see, Senju Park knew that in this meta there was two massive dangers: Draco Meteor Salamence and Mega Tyranitar and Kangaskhan. One was a fast Pokémon that could one-shot almost any other Pokémon with the use of the strongest dragon move in the game, and have no repercussions. You see, Draco Meteor, because of it being the best move, it has a secondary effect that will reduce the user's special attack after using it. But Salamence is a really decent physical attacker too, so you could take care of a threat with Draco Meteor and continue to be a problem with physical moves like Dragon Claw. But that wasn't all. You see, Jody Azarelli, or however you pronounce a name, because apparently I don't know shit, uses this amazing thing I talk about using EVs to create different builds for different Pokémon. Because he turns Salamence a sweeper Pokémon that its main job is to kill everything in the board really fast and really strong, he turned it into a pseudo support Pokémon. Salamence has Rock Tomb, a move that lowers the speed of the opponent, and because of Salamance's high speed, he could prioritize this and debuff strong enemy Pokémons. But that isn't it, because Salamence has Intimidate. Yeah, you start to understand what makes a Pokémon strong. Becoming a real problem in a meta of Kangaskhan's and Mega Lucarios that really hated to have their attack lowered. And Mega Tyranitar was a Pokémon that was physically strong in every considerable way, and physically bulky as fuck, letting it leave super effective stab attacks of other pseudo-legendaries like Garchomp. So, Senju Park decided to get rid of both of these problems with his secret weapon, Pachirisu. Its IV spread being masterfully made to the point where it will survive up to 2 Draco Meteors back to back after the special attack downgrade, because of its item Citrus Berry, an item that after having your HP reduced by some percentage, you will recover some back. But you might be saying, I don't care if it can survive strong attacks, I don't want to attack the rat, I want to attack the enemy sweeper Pokémon. Well, this is where one of the biggest ideas in Senju Park plan comes into play. Pachirisu had a move called Follow Me, a move that is in the redirection department with Rage Powder. It makes every Pokémon change its attack into the user's direction. So, if Senju Park had his hard-hitting Garchomp out, he just needed to follow me the enemy's Draco Meteor, and the rat would survive it and at the same time open the path for Garchomp to do devastating damage. Freaking genius! Follow Me is one of the most used moves in BGC since then. Or maybe even before that, I don't know, I started playing the day after watching these games. But that wasn't it. We still needed to deal with the other tanky Pokémons, because when you have a super Pokémon out and the turn is in your favor and you don't need to use a supporting move, you'll need to have an offensive option, and an offensive option he had. Super Fang is a move that rat Pokémon learn because of their massive teeth, you know? A move that instead of calculating damage the old way, it deals a specific amount ignoring the Pokémon's attack and the enemy's defense. Pachirisu, as we know, doesn't have anything in the strength department. It is kinda useless there. So instead of putting effort in attacks that have a lot of raw damage, Senju Park used attacks that had effects. Like Nozzle, a move that deals practically 0 damage but always paralyzes the enemy Pokémon, reducing their speed stat in half, and Super Fang, that reduces the enemy HP to 50% of their current HP. Meaning, if the enemy had something as tanky and powerful as a Mega Tyranitar or a Mega Kangaskhan, he just needed to Super Fang the creature and its HP magically will be reduced to half, letting the hard-hitting Pokémons deal with them basically for free. And if the problem wasn't HP and it was speed, Senju Park could use Protect with the carry while nuzzling the enemy and reducing their speed in half, because no one took the rat as a serious threat until it was too late. transforming these useless and lower than average Pokémon into a machine that not only won battles, but won the finals of the biggest tournament of the year, becoming champion, a meme, a star, and for me, becoming the reason I started to dip my feet in the competitive Pokémon ocean. Because if you look at competitive Pokémon from the outside, it may look like the same boring 3 teams doing the same, clicking the exact same moves and just winning because of an error of the other player. I've even poked fun at it in this same channel. But even though it can be disheartening to see things like this take place, there is another whole world outside of the bots that spam the same team. We have a pool of limitless potential, hundreds of Pokémon with undiscovered strategies and moves, a world full of Pachirisus waiting to be discovered, because you don't have to play the meta, not even to win in a tournament. You could just play what you want, bringing us to the most important part of the video. It isn't a secret that one of the biggest things in Pokémon are, well, the Pokémon. These silly creatures are freaking amazing. Yeah, even the key one. If you can't really see the design progress behind this thing, you might be in the wrong place. But these creatures have grown with us. We played their games, watched their animes, have their plushies. We wanted to become a Pokémon trainer like Ash when we were kids. And this competitive mode makes it possible. You will choose your favorite Pokémon, train them, grow a bond with it, and put yourself into a test of strength against other trainers. Humans have evolved to create attachment to things, and the wonderful design of this game, and the franchise as a whole, lets you do it. Years ago in this channel I uploaded a video where a friend created a team out of Pokémon by vibes only, and I had to make a competitive team out of those bastards and win as much as possible in the rank ladder. And each time I lost, I had to drink a shot of tequila. Let's just say, I got fucked up that day. But the thing is that my friend at the beginning was just making fun of the awful Pokémon he picked. But with time, he started to get attached to them, naming them, cheering when they killed something or withstanding an attack, or getting bombed when one of them fainted. This is one of the strongest design aspects of Pokémon. You can have the strategy that makes every battle feel like a chess match. You can have the depth where people use fucking online calculators to build their Pokémon, choose their natures, and pick specific items. Just check what happened to Fuseli in her last Pokémon video. A dude had a Pokémon trained specifically to withstand a specific attack from a specific Pokémon with a specific amount of health. Yeah, this shit has levels. And all of that is pushed even further by the accessibility that the designs and the world of Pokémon have. We empathize with these little fuckers. We want to keep creating more teams out of them, more adventures, and I think it's one of the best decisions I have done in gaming. Getting into this competitive scene is so rewarding and entertaining. And I think now is the best time to get into it. Pokémon Champions is out, or almost out, depending on my editing skills. And one of the biggest things about this game is that regularly Pokémon's competitive format stays the same until the next generation or DLC is dropped. But now that competitive isn't going to be attached to the mainline games, we could have patches and fixes regularly, just like any other competitive game. This is fucking awesome. I can keep playing the game because I don't buy the Pokémon DLCs, they suck, so I'm always missing some part of the competitive format. It's almost like a fresh start and there isn't a better time to give it a try. And there is a lot of information online to get you started. You can watch this video and any Wolfie VGC one or Moxie Boosted, that's a plus one. I used to watch Shady Penguin religiously when I started. I know it gets complicated once you get really deep in it, but it doesn't have to be. All that I just talk in this video is almost everything that you need to know before jumping in. What you'll need to get after this is knowledge, match knowledge, item knowledge, and team building knowledge. But no matter how many videos you watch, you won't understand it completely if you don't try it. So go ahead, there is nothing to lose, and Pokémon Champions has a free plan. It might be a slow start by just playing that, but you could use that time to get to know the game and start understanding what teams you like or which Pokémon you like. Sometimes You can like a Pokemon after using it in battle, like my relationship with Grimmsnarl. Everyone was using Women's Code and I didn't want to use the same Pokemon as everyone. And I picked Grimmsnarl as a super Pokemon because he's cool. And joke's on me, I guess, because Poker became one of the most used Pokemon ever after a while. But more than anything, this game is fun. And you are going to get better at it. Not because of you getting better teams or your Pokemon leveling up, but because you, as a trainer, became better. And this is an experience that just a limited amount of games can give you. And it's really cool to put yourself into test and see how far you can go. And that is why you should play competitive Pokemon. If I see one more Goldengo, I'm going to kill my...